This is Manindrabu from Batam. I love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
I'm Sela Sadakau from Vatukola. I only listen to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold Naka, I'm Vale and I'm working at Golden Grove Resort, and I love listening to Gold FM because it plays a really wide range of classic music.
I'm Saini Sakio from Kashmir Wotoka. I like Gold FM, but only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate. This is FBC News. Tonight, more than 22,000 families access Help for Homes initiative. No Sinai deployment until further notice. And Building Standards Committee reactivated. More than 22,000 families have benefited from the Help for Homes initiative. Minister for Finance Ayaz Said Qayyum highlighted in Parliament today that there are checks and balances to ensure that only rightful claimants access the assistance. Maggie Boyle tells us more.
Almost a month since the rollout of the Help for Homes initiative, and thousands of applications have been approved.
It has assisted a total of 22,083 homes. And Madam Speaker, the areas that have been covered included people who were claiming under this initiative from Balawu, from the Lamai VT group, Tabuni, Sabusabu, Bua, Tailevu, Ra, Tavua, Ba, and Latoka.
Responding to questions from the opposition, Finance Minister Ayaz Said Qayyum says there is a stringent criteria in place.
It's dependent on the individuals who come along, sign the declaration, and there is a verification process. They check with the list that has been assessed, but some people actually weren't assessed at that particular point in time. So that's why you have the declaration that is very critical, and then of course it is followed by the audit checks.
This comes as 2 people were charged last week for falsifying information and reported 36 people under investigation for a similar offence. Opposition MP Chiosefa Ndulaki Virata asked about whether a new building code would be complied with.
Drawings have been given to you at the hardware store, and the drawings are also available wherever they go and collect these cards to show them how to adhere to this code or some of the fundamentals.
In the wake of Tropical Cyclone Winston, 40,000 homes were reportedly damaged or destroyed. The Help for Homes initiative aims to assist those unable to rebuild themselves, with building materials $1,500 for partially damaged roofs, $3,000 for a destroyed roof, and $7,000 if you've lost your entire home. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Deployment of peacekeepers to Sinai has been halted as the security situation worsens there. Republic of the Fiji Military Director for Peace Support Operations, Commander Humphrey Thawake, says all future missions to Sinai have been put on hold as of last week. Akusita Tale has more details.
Taking them across when the troops were being relocated and our remote sites where we were being closed down, so it was pointless sending them across again. Threat assessments that will be made, and if it happens, it will be made known to, and that will be done. That will be a call made by government, not by us. The three battalions that are in the Colombians are reducing, so are we. So it's done across the board at the best interest of the nation.
65 of the 338 Fijian troops serving in Sinai are expected to return home by the end of this week. Commander Thawake has assured Fiji that the troops are being well looked after by the MFO leading the international peacekeeping operations in Egypt. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Future buildings to be constructed in Fiji will now be governed by the National Building Code. Shireen Shivan reports this will be administered by the Central Board of Health.
The Fijian Building Standard Committee has been reactivated to ensure that standards are met while constructing homes.
The committee is also tasked to recommend amendments and improvements to these particular standards. Additionally, Madam Speaker, the committee will also make recommendations on the licensing of professionals in the construction industry to ensure that we are able to set minimum requirements for professionals in the construction industry, especially when working on certain types of buildings.
The committee will also ensure that materials used for construction meet the approval of the Ministry of Trade and Industries.
The committee has also taken the role of creating awareness on the current code, with about 2,000 odd copies of the Home Builders Manual being circulated to enable people to have basic information in the reconstruction phase.
A group of experts are working with the enforcement agencies to identify areas that need improvement. Koya says appropriate actions are taken to ensure that a set of guidelines are given to homeowners as they rebuild following the devastation caused by the cyclone Winston. Sharin Shivan, FBC News.
22 tenders will be given to various construction companies in the coming weeks to rebuild schools in areas affected by tropical cyclone Winston. Education Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy confirmed this while responding to questions from opposition MP Salote Randrondo about the progress in rebuilding classrooms and teachers' quarters.
Tenders for the construction of schools affected by tropical cyclone Winston have been verified and works are expected to start in the next few weeks.
Maybe by second week of June, packages, about 22 packages in clusters will be given to the various construction companies to design and construct plus-top schools in different areas because of economies of scale, because you give it to one contractor, 10, 20 schools, so we'll get better deal out of that.
Opposition MP Salote Randrondo raised concerns on the welfare of students studying inside tents.
What alternative strategies in place to replace the tent, which is becoming very, very hot and not very conducive to children learning, particularly bearing in mind the children that will be sitting for examinations this year?
There's a process. We are dealing with public funds. A process that to be followed. These are the same people who will come in and question us why this person was given the contract.
According to Dr. Reddy, the Education Ministry has received 181 reports of schools that needs construction. Given the isolation of some schools in the Maritime Islands, there are still more reports to come in from engineers that are doing the assessment. Ali Kimbia, FBC News.
The Passports Amendment Bill 2016 was tabled in Parliament today. Attorney General Ayaz Said Qayyum says the amendment introduces a new category of passports to be called a Fijian official passport. He says this will only be used by Fijian soldiers and other members of the disciplined forces to travel safely between the borders of hostile countries while on peacekeeping duties.
Consultations, Madam Speaker, have been held with the Ministry of Defence, National Security and Immigration, Department of Immigration, RFMF, Fiji Police Force, the Correction Services, and of course the various other relevant government agencies, including Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, currently in the Middle East, Fijians who are members of the disciplined forces, more specifically the RFMF, who deployed as peacekeepers in Iraq, Sinai, Syria, Lebanon, and the Golan Heights.
The Passport Amendment Bill will be debated on Thursday. Coming up on FBC News, much-needed donation for FEA. And government continues investing in aquaculture. Stay with us.
FM rocks. My name is Denasa and I'm from Lutoka and I love listening to Today FM.
My name is Wulamila. I work at Golden Point Resort. I love listening to Today FM. It rocks in Raki.
I'm Mary from Mandera. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
We love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back. This is FBC News. The government has tabled a Prevention of Bribery Amendment Bill in Parliament. Attorney General Ayaz Said Qayyum says the Prevention of Bribery promulgation came into effect in 2007, around the time when the Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption was set up. The main objective of the amendment is to make provision for the prevention of bribery.
The promulgation, of course, has been utilised by FICAC, preventing corruption and electoral fraud. However, there are a number of prevailing issues within the promulgation need to be improved by virtue of the amendments laid out in this particular bill. Madam Speaker, a lot of the clauses there are more functionary than anything else, but they do need to be put in place as a matter of urgency.
The bill will be debated on Wednesday. The 49-year-old driver of a rental car who caused the deaths of 2 young men and injured 2 others when the rental went off a cliff last month has been sentenced to 3 years and 11 months behind bars. Bonipate Turangalevu earlier pleaded guilty to 2 counts of dangerous driving occasioning death, 2 counts of dangerous driving occasioning bodily harm, 1 count of driving without a driver's license, and 1 count of failing to comply with requirements. Turangalevu is disqualified from ever driving again. He was driving a rental car with 4 passengers when it plunged off a cliff in Samambula, killing 21-year-old Kitione Tukana and his 19-year-old cousin Epelin Duaimbe. Turangalevu will be eligible for parole after serving 3 years and 5 months. Following Tropical Cyclone Winston, the Fiji Electricity Authority teams and contractors have worked tirelessly to restore power supply. The Australian government has today helped FEA get to some affected areas with the donation of equipment worth $270,000.
The 7 specialized vehicles will help cover the 9,000 customers left to be attended after TC Winston.
If to FEA today will not only assist in the restoration of power supply, but will also go a long way in assisting with the rollout of our rural electrification program. This program allows rural Fijians to access electricity, which is so important in enabling families to cook, to boil water for washing and cleaning, and providing light for the children to study.
The donation from the Energy Networks Association and the Australian government will help fast-track the restoration of power supply to the remaining areas in the Western Division. Acting Australian High Commissioner to Fiji, Karinda Daloisio, says they will continuously support Fiji's post-Winston recovery works.
And this kind of support won't just help with the immediate task of fully reconnecting electricity in Fiji. It will make Fiji's electrical network more resilient to future disasters by providing equipment and skills to keep building back better.
This donation builds on the Australian government's $53 million assistance package that will help Fiji recover from Tropical Cyclone Winston. It also enables electricity works to be completed on time. Sinai Nimboila, FBC News.
Technical colleges around Fiji are instruments to help children from poor backgrounds obtain internationally recognized qualifications that open doors for career paths. Education Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says the Bainimarama government intends to tackle the vicious cycles affecting Fijians, and educational opportunities is one such issue. He says in its worst form, the cycle affects breadwinners who live under the poverty line.
Madam Speaker, there was an urgent need to step in and recover the situation where students were blindly pushed into academic streams, when realistically they could not cope up with the demands. There was no avenue to understand and appreciate the interests of these students, leave alone polishing their talents and trade skills. Madam Speaker, the Bainimarama government stepped in and designed the establishment of technical colleges, which was tasked to look at a wider scope of interest amongst Fijians. Madam Speaker, the technical college offers a range of opportunities not only to children who make technical education their career path, but also to adults.
Numerous schools around Fiji have been turned into technical colleges. Fiji continues to invest in aquaculture, funding $2.5 million worth of related development projects in all the 4 divisions. Minister for Fisheries, Osea Nangamu, made the statement while speaking in Parliament this morning. Nangamu says the Ndriketi hatchery is being revived for sustainable development of aquaculture in the north. $1.7 million multi-species hatchery in Dhambonira will be used as a research and training center, and the projects will benefit highland and mainland dwellers.
This includes freshwater aquaculture program. Through this program, 4 hatcheries have been developed. The tilapia hatcheries in Ba and Durulolo, with a capacity to produce about 1 million tilapia babies and serving about 267 fish farmers. The prawn hatchery in Ngaloa, producing close to 1 million prawn babies annually for 35 freshwater prawn farmers in Fiji.
The minister says in the highlands, aquaculture complements many integrated farms. Sports now, here's Jamie with all the very latest.
Thank you, Jackie, and good evening. Coming up tonight, Flying Fijians to march into camp on Wednesday. And Ravinnath scoops Best Wheelman Award. These stories and more after the break.
Tunisia tugotua, ongonia saulara, although we'll take you on a TV and a market tawa. Although Talitana, Warrona, Bula FM, and Nambandu and a set.
Pulamana Viti, nada ko Palacio Materia, one may Nana Bulubulo Tabiuni, Ausatuga Nandi, and the Talita na Warrongo and a Bula FM. Bula!
Bula FM, number 2 and seri.
The Vodafone Flying Fijians will begin preparations for the Pacific Nations Cup this week. But with regular skipper Akapu Singera unavailable due to club commitments, coach John McKee will be looking for a new leader to guide the side. Vasnil Prasad reports.
Listen to the crowd joining in, they're all heaving.
Flying Fijians coach John McKee has a huge task ahead of the Pacific Nations Cup, but it's more likely than Vereniki Ngoneva will captain the side.
Very strong senior player group, and you know, I think, you know, that those players have been senior players and ably assisted Akapusi over our previous campaigns over 2014 and 2015, and we've got players there that will step up in that role.
As of now, though, selection is wide open and anyone who impresses the coach is in running for the captain's armband. Perfect timing for the 5 local players to step up.
Certainly, you know, for some of the younger players based here in Fiji, it's an ideal time to start to get them to the high level so that we know by 2019 they'll be seasoned international players.
The PNC will set the platform for the Flying Fijians ahead of test against Georgia in July, November's Europe tour, plus the World Cup qualifiers next year.
Really start talking rugby with the players who will be coming in and really nailing down our game plan for the June test.
Takes it on!
The Flying Fijians 53-member squad marches into camp on Wednesday. Vashnil Prasad, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Sports Commission will meet next week to discuss funding for the Fiji Sevens team preparing for the Olympic Games. Sports Commission Chair Peter Maisy says he is waiting for coach Ben Ryan to return to Fiji before budgets are finalized. He reveals the Commission is ready to do all it can to help the Sevens team prepare.
Comes back on the 7th of June. I'll be one of the first people meeting him and making sure he's got what he wants. And then if he needs more, we'll go to the Minister. But right at the moment he's indicated no, he doesn't. But one of the things that we do have going is the fundraising drive, you know, through to Rio, and we're encouraging everybody to get involved in that because government and the Commission definitely can't just do it all.
Meanwhile, the Vodafone Fiji Sevens team marches into camp next week. The Telecom Fijianas lost the 7th place playoff match against Spain 13-10 at the France Sevens today. Here are the highlights from that match.
Right. Oh, lovely little step there for Tisola. Made it look so easy. Kumo switches place. You got the call from Tavo, and Kumo up the middle, this long striding forward. Kumo turning Casado inside out. And what a lovely try, a typical... Yes, she can! She's absolutely nailed it! And look what it means to still win a game of sevens!
Fiji had a disappointing second day of the tournament, going down to Canada 12-5 in the Cup quarterfinals, then losing to USA 14-12 in the plate semi-final. The Fijianas finished the series in 8th position with 34 points. Vodafone Fiji football coach Frank Farina will fly out to Papua New Guinea today via Brisbane to rejoin the side for the OFC Nations Cup. Farina missed the team's 3-1 opening loss to New Zealand on Saturday after being denied entry to PNG. He's expected to join the national team 2 hours before its second pool match tomorrow against the Solomon Islands. The game kicks off at 9 p.m. tomorrow and you can watch it live on Fbctv. Major upsets occurred on the opening day of the South Pacific Bowling Carnival in Suva. In the pairs discipline, former champion Abdul Kalim and partner were bundled out of the final eliminations. Nandi's Arun Kumar and team looks to be the top contenders in the men's division going into the semi-finals tomorrow after beating Samuel Atui's team by 2 shots. In the women's division, national rep Litia Tukuisuva, playing with her mother, Rota Vakaloloma, beat their Australian counterparts 16-10.
The competition has been very stiff this year. It's probably due to this good weather. The overseas players are coming up well with the green. You know, they're not used to this slow greens, but with the weather it has helped to speed up the green a little bit, and that's to their favor.
The tournament continues tomorrow. The Fiji Car Club held its annual awards function in Suva last night, and for the 14th consecutive year, Ravindranath scooped the Best Drivers Award. Rohit Deo reports.
Another year and another overall Best Drivers Award. Ravindranath crossed the finish line ahead of all other contenders.
There was no surprise as far as the overall champion. It was Ravindranath who took the honors. You know, this is his 14th straight year that he has won this event. So, you know, it's one of those milestones that I don't think anybody will be able to beat his record anytime soon.
Club President Rizal Hanif says after Tropical Cyclone Winston, they had to postpone a lot of its events, including the awards night.
We were supposed to have our awards night earlier this year in March, but due to Cyclone Winston, we had to postpone it. But tonight, you know, was a very successful night. We had rewarded all the race drivers that you know, took part in last year's race.
Daus Khan finished second on the night ahead of Ravi Nair. Davina Prasad, Sandhya Naidu, and Shafiza Ali scooped honors in the women's division. Rohit Deo, FBC Sports.
That's it from sports this evening. Jack is up next with business.
Future Forest Fiji continues to be suspended from trading on the South Pacific Stock Exchange. The company had opted for voluntary suspension of shares because it didn't have 12 months of operating capital as required by the stock exchange. Future Forest Board of Directors has advised that it no longer meets this requirement, and in the interest of shareholders, the suspension remains in place. The company says this will be the case until such time as they resolve solvency-related challenges. It was a fairly bright and sunny day with overcast periods across the nation. There is a small chance of showers overnight in the east. Temperatures were about the same everywhere. Lambasa and Lautoka were the warmest out of all the centres on 32 degrees, whereas the other major centres were in the high 20s. Tomorrow looks much the same with persistent dusky clouds and a cool night. And the further outlook, it looks like the trend of sunny cool weather will continue into Wednesday. At sea, light southeast winds and moderate swells. Recapping the main stories for tonight, more than 22,000 families benefit from Help for Homes initiative. Fijian Building Standards Committee reactivated and classroom reconstructions to begin by next month. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. The results from last week's poll question we had asked, is salt intake becoming a major health concern? 86% answered yes. This week's question, should Fijians be redeployed to Sinai if the security situation improves? To answer, visit our FBC website. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. You've been watching FBC News. I'm Jackie Spade. Good night.
आपको खरगंगा की रंजिला का नमस्कार। रेडियो फिजी की सुंदर सुंदर यादों का खजाना एकदम बचपन के दिन याद करा देते हैं।
हमारा नाम जोनी नायडू है, हम रहता है मलोरो में और हम टैक्सी ड्राइवर है। हम सब टाइम अपन टैक्सी में रेडियो फिजी 2 सुनता प्रोग्राम।
हम सिंगाचोका के हैं, हमारा नाम है रोजी। हम लोग यहाँ पे रेडियो फिजी 2 सुनता है।
राम राम, मैं रेमस प्रसाद बोलता हूँ, तब होता हूँ कोई रहता हूँ। मैं जब भी सुना रेडियो फिजी 2 ही सुनता हूँ।
रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन।